Welcome to my OA1 Didactical lesson design presentation. My name is Toril and I currently teach first-year pupils at the Health and Youth Development Program in upper secondary school. This year I do not teach English but program subjects. I will, however, for this presentation, pretend that I also teach English in this class. The class consists of 15 girls, all aged 16. Most of the pupils are able of communicating in English, however at different levels of proficiency. The novel I have chosen to address in this presentation is The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis. The reason I have chosen this novel is primarily because it addresses a topic which is focused on in all the program subjects in the Health and Youth Development Program, which is lifestyle and basic human needs. The Breadwinner cleverly addresses lack of safety, lack of food and water, and lack of possibilities of self-realization, to mention a few. Therefore, the topic is already well known to the pupils through their program subjects. And since it is closely connected to the pupils' education choice, it should give the pupils a sense of relevance and therefore motivation to read. Quite a few of the pupils are reluctant to reading novels in both Norwegian and English. Therefore, I have chosen a relatively short novel, only about 150 pages. Hopefully, this means that the pupils will feel that finishing this book in about 3 weeks might be an achievable goal. Also, the book is printed in quite a large font size, which means that there aren't a lot of words per page. And therefore, hopefully, the pupils will have a rapid progress in reading. The language is also quite easy, and which means that for most of the pupils, they will not encounter large difficulties when reading on their own. The competence aims I have chosen are: in oral communication, the pupil shall be able to understand and use an extensive general vocabulary and an academic vocabulary related to one's education program. The pupil shall be able to introduce, maintain, and terminate conversations and discussions about general and academic topics related to one's education program. And in written communication, the pupil shall be able to use own notes to write texts related to one's education program. The reason I have focused on these competence aims is due to the importance of being able to communicate in English with users of health and welfare services. These are people that pupils will encounter through their education and career. I also feel it's important to know something about Afghanistan and the Afghan history that might help the students to understand why the Afghan refugees have come to Norway, because they will encounter these people as well through their education and work. The time the class will spend on this novel is 3 weeks, 2 teaching hours per week. In my school, 1 teaching hour is 60 minutes. I do not plan on giving written homework, but the pupils will have to read parts of the novel at home. At the end of the period spent on the novel, the pupils are expected to hand in a written assignment, focusing on basic needs, where they use examples from the novel as well as their own thoughts. In this assignment, however, I will only address the first 2 lessons, where the pupils will be introduced to the novel. The reason why I choose to use 2 lessons on introduction is due to the earlier mentioned reluctance against reading novels. I therefore feel that I need to help the pupils getting started on the novel and to raise their motivation. So the learning goals for these first 2 lessons are: the pupils will be able to see the connection between program subjects and common core subjects. The pupils will be able to express their own thoughts and discoveries in the novel. The pupils will know what the basic human needs are in English. Moving to the teaching plan for the first lesson. Initially, I want to address the exterior of the novel. The pupils are given a few minutes to look at the front and the back, to read the cover text. Then I want to hear some immediate expectations from the pupils. What are their thoughts on this novel? What do they think it's about? I also want to talk about the pictures. What is it they see in the pictures? Then I want to ask them what a breadwinner is. My assumption is that most of the pupils have never heard the word before, and I feel it's rather important to know exactly what a breadwinner is to understand what the novel is about. Then I want to open the book. The first page in the book is a list of praises that the novel has received. We will read these together, and hopefully through reading the praises the pupils will get a positive first impression of the book. Then we will look at the maps in the book. One map places Afghanistan on the world map, and another which shows Afghanistan and the neighboring countries. Perhaps the pupils do not even know where Afghanistan is. Then I want to make a mind map on the blackboard about Afghanistan. What do the pupils know about Afghanistan? Do they know what the capital is? Have they seen Afghanistan on the news? What have they seen on the news about Afghanistan? What do they think it's like to live there? I will also want to show them some pictures from Afghanistan about buildings, people, just what it looks like in Afghanistan. To get the pupils started on the novel, I plan on reading the first chapter to the pupils. I will encourage them to follow the text in the books as I read. And if they notice any words they have never heard before, I want them to write them down on a sheet of paper. After having read the first chapter, I will ask the pupils about words they did not understand. This way, I will introduce them to the glossary list at the back of the book. Together, we will talk about the words that were new in the first chapter. In addition to explaining the words, I will show them pictures and video clips showing the glossary in real life. What does a burqa look like? And what does pashto look and sound like? This way, hopefully, the pupils will easier be able to create realistic images in their minds as they read. The second lesson, I want to direct the pupils' attention towards the basic needs. Keep in mind that these needs are covered in all the program subjects, so they know them quite well in Norwegian. I want them to list the words in Norwegian, and we can write them on the blackboard, and I will help them translate the words into English. I also want the pupils to write down these translations in the books because they need them for later when they should write their written assignment. Next, I will ask the pupils to read through chapter 1 on their own, focusing on the main character Pavana. Is there anything in her lifestyle and life situation that might indicate that her basic needs aren't covered? When the pupils have finished reading the chapter, they are expected to write down a few key words on the subjects and also their own thoughts. I expect that the reading speed of the pupils is quite variable, and also the fastest readers are encouraged to commence on chapter 2. But I expect that 30 minutes is sufficient enough for all the pupils to get through chapter 1. At the end of the lesson, the pupils are to talk in pairs about their thoughts and discoveries. Did they find the same things? What did they discover? Through this conversation, hopefully the pupils' attention might be focused on other aspects than the ones they found themselves. So that was my plan. Thank you for listening.